now, coming to you live from HuntsvilleAttic Studios, it's the Smile World Show. And here's your host, John Hammertime Holshoe.
Hey, it's the Smiler Else Show. Coming to you always from the Huntsville Attic. I want to thank the Anchor Thieves for the opening song there. Thank you, gentlemen. Check them out online. Awesome band, by the way. Awesome band. Tonight, the Kaiju, or Godzilla, as you would call it. That's probably the most famous Kaiju, the Godzilla episode. And with me, as always, it's Robbie Billups.
Robbie Billups, thank you. That's me. How you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Well, thank you.
And with us tonight, we've got Alex's favorite member of the cast, Tad Kopp.
Hey there.
And returning, he's been on the show many times, somebody we always love, the big bearded man himself, James Lineback.
Hi. I had some difficulties last time. A bad beard day, so I'm sorry I wasn't here. But it's good to be back.
The beard looks excellent. And
Thank
it really
you.
does.
for the first time on the show, James Donahoe.
What's up, people? Hey, how are you doing?
Are you asking them out there listening right now?
Yeah,
I was going to
or
say,
us.
we can't
I'm
really
not-
answer.
I'm doing quite well.
I don't know. How are you guys
I'm
doing?
good. I'm good.
I hope
Yeah.
people listen to the podcast like scream back.
If they're doing great out there,
I'm doing
wonderful.
terrible. Call the police.
Well, I feel love for you, but they might get there a tad late. So
A tad late.
Oh!
This guy is Alex. This guy right here.
You're Alex on
my,
your own.
So-
my secret identity is blown.
The again, Godzilla. We're really excited for the upcoming movie. It comes out in a couple weeks. If you're listening to this, by the time this is released, maybe you've seen the film. Maybe you haven't seen the film. Go see the film. Listen to the show. You probably listen to the show for time. We're not commanding you to listen to the show you're already listening to. Keep listening to the show. But let's get into the thick of it. Let's jump into the Kaiju. So what's Kaiju? Anybody know what Kaiju is?
Yeah.
I think that's a strange question.
Ha! I see what you did there. And this part will be edited out of the show.
I believe
Kaiju.
it's Japanese for something. I believe. Yeah.
I think it literally does it translate to strange creature, James?
I believe it's strange beast,
Strange beast.
but I think creature works just the same.
Yeah.
you know,
Apples
it's-
and oranges. You
Yeah,
know, tomatoes.
You say strange beast, and I say strange creature.
I love that song. I love it.
Thank you very much.
But it's mostly associated with the big monsters, correct?
Yeah. That's actually going to be Daikaiju,
Daikaiju.
technically, and then there's Kaijin, which are like humanoid, strange beasts,
Attack
if
on
you will.
Titan.
But Kaiju basically covers all that. So giant, small, as long as it's strange Japanese. They're usually based on like other animals, like existing animals, or in things like Super Sentai and Kamen Rider. They're even like household items. They like a shovel can be turned into a monster, or a lamp.
Oh, I know all about that. I one time saw a kaiju that was called Kung Fu Chicken Noodle. It was a big can of chicken soup with with arms and legs, and he was wielding a giant meat cleaver.
That's awesome.
That was
You
pretty.
got to write that one down for me, sir.
I'll have to. Yeah, I have to remember that because I don't even remember where I saw that. I just remember Kung Fu Chicken Noodle. What the hell is this all about? I watched this this is the best kaiju I've ever seen.
Why do we love it? I mean, we're doing a podcast for it. We must love Kaiju, correct?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Who doesn't love giant monsters tearing through cardboard cities, basically? They're guys in suits, and it looks hokey, but it's fun, it's nostalgic, and it's just big monster bash fighting, blah, 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 explosions, sometimes giant robots. Those are my favorites. Giant robots fighting them.
Yeah, the Suitmation, as it was later called.
Oh,
That's
man.
the actual word for it.
Well, I don't know if it's really the actual word. I think people just say it. It's not really animation, obviously, if it's just the person in the suit.
It's just.
I think that's called a
fun stuff.
costume.
I mean,
I think that's called just called a fucking costume.
Yeah.
they're definitely very distinct from any other film. I mean, when you see a kaiju film, you watched a kaiju film. It's not like if you watched a horror movie, but there's no like ghosts and goblins in there, so you're kind of conflicted. Is this really a horror movie or is this a psychological thriller? So what's the difference between a kaiju movie and just a typical monster movie? Well, You know, there's a very typical distinction there. So
A lot of times in Tokyo, just like Robbie was saying, a lot of buildings get crushed.
Everything.
Buildings that
gets
look
destroyed.
more fragile than they probably should be.
Just leveled.
oh man.
He
Yeah,
loves kicking trains.
I'd love it if they were made out of Legos, man, because that would make the movie a whole lot more fun. Because
I
it
guess-
looks like you could build them up quick.
Basically, it's like when you're a kid and you're playing with your toys, and you're just like, that's kind of what a kaiju film could be like.
Yes.
So it's like playing with the toys.
So you got a point there, you know. Played with my old He-Man toys as a kid. Now I'm admitting I played with He-Man toys as a kid.
So did I. Who didn't?
There you go.
He-Man was awesome.
Tad's a little
But
young.
He-Man was a well, I had Skeletor. I didn't have He-Man, so. But he was a kaiju, so technically.
Your thoughts, Tad? You've been sort of quiet there.
Well, I've always loved just giant robots beating the crap out of each other, and usually followed in with that very closely is, you know, giant monsters fighting giant robots. So I grew up watching Godzilla. This is one of my favorite things.
TBS, when I was a kid, man, TBS. It was always a Godzilla, like 70s Monster of the Week Godzilla movie on any given time on TBS.
Yeah.
I don't know what
If they
happened
weren't
to TBS.
doing the Bond marathon.
Yeah,
or Braves game.
or playing 60s Batman show reruns.
And the monkeys.
Oh, yes.
And the monkeys.
Oh, the monkeys.
TBS has evolved. Now it's just I don't know, Big Bang Theory reruns. I don't know. It's not. Where's the
Reruns
Godzilla?
and-
Where's the Godzilla? We're gonna take a quick break. When we come back, the history of Godzilla.
Batman celebrates 75 years, and here on the Smiler Out Show, well, we're celebrating 2 months. Anyway, Batman 75, the Batcast, coming soon.
All right, and we're back, and now we're going to talk about the history of Godzilla, everybody's favorite kaiju, probably the most famous kaiju. Even if people don't know what kaiju is, they know who Godzilla is. And the movie comes out here soon. The new
Everybody
film.
knows who Godzilla
Everybody's
is.
excited. Yeah, everybody. We'll talk a little bit about the history. If anybody wants to chime in, I'm going to jump in here. He's the original kaiju, right?
Yeah,
The
well,
king-
Oh,
I guess he's the one that started the kaiju thing. I mean, there's other ones that are considered kaiju before.
How about
him.
how about the original Daikaiju?
There you go. We'll go with that.
The first big kaiju. 1954, when
Yep.
Columbus actually sailed the ocean blue and found Godzilla.
Sure.
swimming
Found
through the water.
Godzilla.
yeah.
So
They
the,
didn't teach me that one, but you know,
yeah.
Alabama's got a weak public educational system.
Durham.
I'm going to talk about the film real quick before we talk about the creature himself. But the original film, which was in 54, which even the people who think, oh, the later films are corny, the original film is a classic. It's a dark film. It's remarkably humane, and it's kind of depressing, actually.
It really is.
And it was made in Japan when the country was still kind of reeling from the nuclear attack.
9 years after.
Yeah,
man,
and the H-bomb testing currently was going on in the Pacific, and so again, they're just kind of a heartbreaking like embodiment of the fears of the population of Japan at the time. But he went on be this creature that everybody adores. Apparently, it's
pretty
kind of the
much.
opposite effect.
He's
but-
definitely the villain in the first movie.
yeah, he's the
You know,
villain. He's the villain
force
in
of nature.
many of them, but then there's a lot of them where he teams up and he's fighting, a giant moth or
You gotta love
a
that.
giant
A
squid.
Godzilla team up is just awesome.
Yeah, to team up to defend the Earth from alien monsters.
Yeah. Well, at the meantime, he's gonna attack Tokyo and to completely destroy it.
Anybody want to talk about the history of Godzilla himself, the inception of the supposed monster, even though there's several different origin stories?
Well, the actual conception, I guess, since his original name was Gojira, which is a combination of two Japanese words, and they combine to conform. It's stupid.
They conform.
They combine to make the word Gojira, and that means gorilla whale.
Oh,
I didn't know that. Actually.
The old
Gorilla whale.
gorilla whale.
Yes, it means gorilla whale, because well, he's
That was my nickname in high school. Was gorilla whale.
You look like
Wow.
a gorilla whale.
wow.
Just cut out everything Tad says the whole fucking night. Godzilla whale. I'm sorry. No, that's
Godzilla whale.
Gorilla whale.
Godzilla whale.
not whale.
It literally means Godzilla whale.
That doesn't make any sense.
Another random thing. Didn't they get a lot of the sounds of Godzilla's roar from whales and?
Actually, no.
Well,
This is so sad that I actually know this. Okay, well, this is what they did. They took a cello, they put it out of tune, they strummed it once and recorded that, and then they played it back on another recorder at different speeds. So at each point, you got that typical. I'm gonna do this noise right now. It's gonna sound really stupid, but just bear with me. That it's see how God that sounded stupid. Well,
You're the one that did it, Mike.
yes, I am. I'm making a fool of myself. No, but that's how they did. Is they used an out of tune cello.
The movies, though, as they went on, Godzilla, the movies became, like any franchise, it gets watered down. They introduce other monsters and just it gets hokey. And there's a stretch of really kind of bad ones. I think in the 60s to 70s.
yeah.
Those are the best ones.
You think so? Okay.
Well, I mean, I
man.
guess I got a kick out of them as a kid, and because of that, I still kind of get a kick out of them.
Yeah, I got you.
You know how that is.
Absolutely.
Fond childhood memories of really bad kaiju films.
I just remember really liking when I was a kid the newer ones, like the 85 or 86 remake.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
And some of the ones that came after the Mecha Godzilla one from like 93 or something like
that
that.
one was
that
cool.
One. Yeah, so in it, I don't know, they became, I don't know, and it's just a product of the time. It's like people watch old movies and they can't because they're paced slow. And the Godzilla films are like that. They definitely evolve, and it's almost like this is a portrait of what cinema is like in each decade. You just watch a Godzilla film.
I just couldn't get behind around the 70s how big his neck looked and how goofy he kind of looked kind of like a dog almost. It just the look of him just was awful.
Yeah, in the 70s, man, I don't know what the hell they did to that costume.
Well,
The eyes, man. The
Yeah, the
eyes.
eyes
bug
were-
eyes and everything. Oh, he's
well,
weird
interesting
looking.
enough you guys say that how he changed at that point. That's because Eiji Subarura, that's when he died. It was 1970.
Oh, the founder of Subaru.
Whoa. He was the he was the guy who created all the creature effects for all of the Toho films. He was actually the head of the special art department, is what they called it back then, before it was even special effects.
He passed away, and I guess all the secrets or the good costume secrets went with him.
They probably went to a cheaper route.
Yeah, people who cared less about design and everything. Because I mean, he also created Ultraman, a whole bunch of stuff. Because he created his own studio
Ultraman is
for
great
TV shows
kaiju,
and stuff.
yeah.
Ultraman is awesome.
And then we get to the Millennium series, which I think the costume took a turn for the better. I think the costume's phenomenal.
That's probably one of my favorite.
Yeah,
look,
very
best
cat-like,
looking Godzilla.
kind of cat-like.
Yes.
But I think it's
His atomic blast or breath or whatever in that era was just badass too.
Yeah.
Jeez, yeah, I know. It was just explosive. It just.
I liked how
from his
big
mouth.
the spikes got at one point. Like all the spines on his back, they just kept growing, and eventually they were the size of him.
Like the size of daggers. Eventually, that's what they look like. But I like how later on they just lit up when he would do that. I don't know.
when he
I mean,
did
there's
fire
no,
breathe,
I mean, there's no
they-
biological meaning behind that. That's just really cool
Not
looking.
fire breathing.
It's not fire. He never
atomic
breathed
breath.
fire. It was atomic breath. It was like a blue laser beam, basically.
Yeah,
it
thermal
melted
atomic
It wasn't
shit.
fire,
breath.
but it like flickers and lights up. And I've seen that in subsequent video games when you're playing I'm fighting the big bad boss. Like, his plates are lighting up, so that warns you to dodge them.
Yeah, that's definitely
Straight
a
out of Godzilla.
original.
It's a ripoff from Godzilla.
Those bastards.
Speaking of Godzilla, Timothy Dalton was supposed to be.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, he kind
And
of
again.
kind of canceled on us.
And again, he didn't make it. He didn't make it to the show. If you're listening, Timothy, We hope you feel better and can join us on a different episode. But the favorite Godzilla movies. Let's jump right into it because we were talking about Godzilla and we actually brought up a couple films.
Oh yeah.
Are there favorite films that stick with you? Favorite films that you just like? This is my favorite, and this is no reason behind it. Let's start with anybody.
Well,
Anybody can
the
chime
first
in.
one that comes to mind is License to Kill, but that's because you got me distracted.
it's a Godzilla of a film.
Well, Godzilla, the first one, Gojira.
Yeah,
The
classic,
Japanese Gojira.
original.
Right,
Yeah,
obviously. I really like growing up, destroy all monsters. Like, I don't know. It's just, they're all
that's
on
the
the
one
island
big
together.
island. Just duke it out.
And then the aliens come down or
Make
whatever.
them fight or whatever.
This is just fun to me when I was a kid.
Yeah,
and
it's stupid
I guess,
fun. It's cheesy,
and,
but it's
and
fun.
the modern equivalent of it, I love Final Wars, man.
Yeah,
it's
and
like
Final Wars is.
It's the
yeah.
kitchen sink sub.
Let's add
Godzilla films.
ninjas. And it has a
delicious
crazy
sub, by
I'm
the way.
story
surprised the
arc.
Frankenstein monster one, the big kaiju Frankenstein, wasn't in there.
Yeah, you know, I don't know. He never really made another appearance, did he? He was
He
just in
should've.
that one, and yeah, he should
was in
have.
he was in a Power Rangers though. I swear, Jew Ranger. There was a fucking giant Frankenstein monster.
That sounds familiar. I remember.
And the
something
American one,
vaguely.
Tommy, Jason David Frank. He was wearing the costume and the monster stole it. Whatever. Moving on.
Our local Power Rangers expert.
That's
So, of
kaiju.
course-
That's kaiju.
Of course, the original, which is a classic. What else? I was going to bring up Godzilla versus Bellante. Is that how you pronounce it?
Biollante.
Biollante.
is
Which was
bad.
actually like
Biollante.
it was almost like a horror film.
That was actually my favorite too.
And I was going to say that it's
It's a great
if
film.
you guys don't
too.
know the
It really
creature
is.
or you guys don't remember the film, this is to the listeners that it's actually it was created when the scientist was distraught over his daughter's death. It's her DNA combined with Godzilla DNA.
Yeah.
That's how you get this, and it's a dark kind of creepy film.
Yeah, it's
It's
supposed
very
to be
dark, like cinematically.
Yeah.
like it's very
It's,
darkly lit.
it's just
Yeah.
dark. Yeah.
It's supposed
We
to be
couldn't
like
afford lights. Actually, they were there.
a direct sequel to Godzilla 1985. It's where they found the DNA from when he wrecked Tokyo. They
Yeah,
were like,
the original.
Oh,
Yeah.
hey,
I
this
found some
cut him.
cells. If you listen to the voiceover, I found some cells. So, you gotta love the dubs.
Cells are everywhere. Yeah, I found some.
Within us and
Look at
without
this,
us.
I found them. It's armpit cells. Yeah, honestly, I like. I don't know why this is my. Well, I mean, I know why this is my favorite movie, but it's not usually one that people would pick. My favorite is actually Godzilla versus Monster Zero, which is the one where these aliens from Planet X. I love the title Planet X.
I love it when they use Planet X in anything.
Anything.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. No matter what alien species you go to in any Godzilla film, they all seem to come from some variation of a Planet X. so that's a pretty popular planet. But in that one, it's these aliens. We land on their planet, and they're like, "Oh, we all live underground because King Ghidorah, who's a big three-headed golden monster, who's like kind of Godzilla's arch nemesis, I guess you could say." He's up there and he's tearing the shit out of people. Am I allowed to say that on here? I'm allowed to say
Yeah,
shit.
you're allowed to say that.
Let's see. Yeah,
We like tearing shits in this place.
he's tearing the shit out of the surface, so they had to live underground. And they say, "Hey, do you think we could borrow Godzilla and Rodan to kick his ass?" And they do. And then they say, "Hey, now we got control of Godzilla and Rodan, who are to them are monsters 1 and 2, because Ghidorah is Monster 0."
Yeah, I did like how on that they were really quirky aliens. They're like everything here has numbers.
Yeah.
Ghidorah is Monster 0, and they're doing all these funky hand signals while they do it.
Yes, that's exactly right.
It's like a Devo video.
Yeah, we must whip it
Yes.
and whip it good. So, but that's my favorite is Godzilla versus Monster 0, because that's just a real big monster throwdown between those three guys. So
Good film. I can't knock you for that one.
coolness. Yeah.
Good film. Enjoyed that film. James, have a favorite?
One of mine is Mothra, just for the cheese factor of it with the little ladies.
The little,
I think Mothra too is awesome in my opinion. I just love the fact that it's just like fuck it, giant moth.
giant and it's one of it was the first monster that you got to feel for, kind of almost, like
felt
it was doing
bad. It's-
something noble.
Yeah, it's noble, and it seems like it should be a really one-sided fight, and sometimes it really is a one-sided fight. He's just like, atomic breath, Mothra's down. Mothra's done for the day.
That's pretty much his
with the exception of
fatality move.
with the exception of King Kong, who's already an existing character. I think Mothra was also the first character he fought. Correct?
Yes.
I mean, yeah. So he's the first person.
In Godzilla Raids Again, he fights the
the
Ankylosaurus.
Anguirus.
Oh, the thing that looks like a anteater. No, not an anteater. Like
an
looks like
armadillo.
an armadillo. Thank you.
Ankylosaurus.
A spiked armadillo.
Or an Ankylosaurus.
Or an Ankylosaurus, which is supposed to be.
Yeah.
I was going to talk about toys and games. The old Godzilla. There was a lot of. First off, there's a shitload of Godzilla merchandising, as is from Toho, mostly through Bandai, I think. But then on top of that, there's all this knockoff merch or stuff inspired. Quote. Those are people that couldn't get licenses. Inspired.
Golira.
By I did air quotes, but nobody could see it because I'm on the fucking
You're on a
podcast.
podcast.
Anybody want to talk about anything that stands out? Figures, toys, board games.
Mid-90s, that line of toys. This one right here.
That no one can
Great
see.
figure.
That
one
we
can see.
but we got a bunch of them in at the store recently, and like
Oh yeah, I drooled all over
those toys are so
great.
fun. Yeah, and Mechagodzilla is super cool, and the Mothra,
Yeah.
those are super cool.
They have missiles that launch and everything. You know?
Absolutely love them.
I have an old one, actually, an old Godzilla toy. I have no idea where it came from. I have no idea who made it, and I actually need to like dig it out and try and fix it. But it's like 3 feet tall, and it had a little hole in the top of its head where you poured like cooking
so he
oil.
smokes, right?
Cooking oil, yeah, and he smokes out of his.
Does he walk or anything?
He
or is
try.
it
He
just-
does walk. His legs.
I
move.
had that same one.
It's crazy.
Is it
thing-
really Godzilla? Because I'm wondering
That's
if
a
mine
cool
was a.
freaking
I'm wondering if
toy.
mine
I-
was a clone or if it was
Cooking
really
oil?
licensed.
Yes, cooking oil. You
That
put.
sounds terrible.
Sounds
It's
like
a, no, it's an awful idea.
Yeah, this would
What
never
is it?
go today.
Oh, no.
It sounds
Right.
like a dangerous toy.
Yeah,
but,
it had a little spot on top of its head where you dropped a couple drops of cooking oil. You turn it on, and it would start smoking.
Yeah,
That's really
his
cool.
tail turned
It
into a
is.
shiv. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, his tail came off. That was the problem with mine. Is that I think one of the hinges on my tail broke off, and I can't get it. to
Didn't he
stick
have
back
like
on there.
bars in his feet so that he walks more? Didn't he have like?
Yeah, he had
Yeah.
train tracks,
Yeah.
railroad tracks.
Yeah, I had the same figure. I gotta find it. I don't know if it was licensed or not, but as a kid, I had that, and it was the most amazing
I
thing. 'cause he
believe it's
smoked
licensed,
and-
but I'm not 100%.
yeah, but it could have been a knockoff. But
It very
to me,
well
it
could
was
have.
Godzilla. But I didn't know I was a dumb kid.
Oh man, I had one of those dolls. I mean, not the one that smokes because that was way too cool for me. No, I had one that was like a foot tall. I think it was based on the Godzilla 1985 model. And that thing was just a really big Godzilla doll, you know. And I would use that thing. I would build little fake cities out of styrofoam and make have a little camera and make little kaiju films in the backyard with that stupid thing.
That's awesome. You still have them?
No. Well, I mean, yeah, I still have him somewhere. I just don't know where. He's probably
You got to dig
stored
them up,
somewhere.
man. We'll put them on the YouTube channel, man.
Dig him up, yeah, man. Oh, I had hours of fun with that stupid thing.
We'll get them on your IMDb.
Yeah, some privileged
Oh.
people over here have IMDb's.
Yep.
Yeah.
The
well.
Jameses.
I'll pretty soon. I might have another credit on there. I just finished another feature for Mr. Jimmy Clement in Decatur. Mr. Jimmy Clement, though, who's a really pretty decent filmmaker. He'll, no matter what, he'll get a shot off in time because he's pretty good at that, pre-planning and everything. And this movie's called Tommy Gunn, which
Funny.
How do I describe this? It is a science fiction futuristic movie with a detective noir feel to it.
We'll be right back. We're gonna take a little break. Enjoy this song by Daikaiju. Welcome back. That was Double Fist Attack by Daikaiju. How appropriate for the episode.
Great band. Appreciate
Great
the
band.
songs.
Appreciate them. They're actually from Huntsville.
Props
as
out
are
to
we in the Huntsville Attic, of course.
Absolutely.
And we were talking about Godzilla, but you know what? There's other kaiju out there. Did you guys know that?
Yeah, we've been talking about them.
Yeah.
So let's get to it. Let's get to the other kaiju. Anybody you guys want to bring up? Somebody want to talk about? First of all, we've already talked about King Kong. I'll straight up throw that out there. The big hairy ape himself.
There's the Japanese King Kong.
Yeah.
Which, like, the first couple films, I believe, of his have been lost or whatever. There's, like, King Kong, Japan, and King Kong and Edo or something like that.
King Kong Escapes, that's the American title. The one where he versus a big giant mecha King Kong.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have
of course
they have
there's a Mecha King Kong.
How do I not
Mecha
know
King
about
Kong.
Mecha Kong? Are you serious?
Hey, man, there's always, like I said, giant robots, man. They love
There's
them.
King Kong. We talked about Mothra. Mothra is a big one. Mothra is probably what? Would you say Mothra might be the second most famous kaiju? I would dare to say. He had a lot of solo films. Debuted
did,
in a
actually.
solo film.
You mean besides King Kong and Godzilla?
Besides
King Kong and Godzilla. Yeah, you're right. Maybe number three. But 2 out of 3 ain't bad. 3 out of 3, as
The
we
eighth
should say.
wonder of the world.
Hey,
Who
man,
doesn't
you know.
love Mecha Godzilla? Because as a kid, especially, what's cooler than a Godzilla?
Oh,
Yeah,
robot
Godzilla.
Robot Godzilla.
Anything's better when you make it a robot.
Biolante is, I think, one of the coolest looking. And as far as just looking goes, dude, Monster X looks so badass.
Let us not forget the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, which is an American kaiju.
That's true.
See, I'm gonna bring that up because the Harold Ramis thing. Yeah, but we all love Mr. Stay Puft. So,
I was going to bring up, if we're going to venture out to non-Godzilla fodder and go into anime, Evangelion.
The angels.
Ava. Yeah, the angels
angels.
themselves. And then Avas, of course, were the robot.
Yeah,
version of the-
absolutely. Things like Gundam, and like we were talking about, like Sentai and Power Rangers. There's King Sphinx was the coolest looking one of those. He looked
Agreed.
Like yeah, with the
I
wings.
remember
and
him.
The, yeah,
He's just badass.
absolutely badass.
Yeah.
oh man,
You
yeah.
mean Goldar?
No, not Goldar. Goldar's different. King Sphinx was just a one episode monster.
Didn't he have
And-
like the King Tut thing on his head
Yeah,
too?
he had the King Tut thing, and he was like the lion head and the wings, and he would flap his wings. And in the original Jew Ranger, the Sentai
Is it Jew Ranger?
Jew Ranger, it starts with a Z. It's Jack. Whatever. Now you got me on a fucking tangent. Anyway, he's anyway. Move on. He's you have to solve riddles, and he flaps kids away and turns them into trees that the adults are gonna chop down to build a new golf course. So he thinks it's funny that they're going to chop down their own children to build their own playground, but they won't build a playground for the kids. So it's kind of like,
Wow, that's a lot. of
Huntsville's
irony.
very own
it's kind of deep, right?
That
Power
is.
Ranger.
That is crazy.
So
Yeah.
sounds
Specialist.
Power
That was
Ranger.
Sentai, not Power Rangers.
I wish
Power
people-
Rangers, it was different. It was way different.
I wish people listening could see when Robbie was explaining half of this. He kept flapping his arms,
Yeah, he's got.
even though
He's got the
you know
motions
it's a
down.
podcast and you people can't see this.
You guys can see me.
Other kaiju, James,
oh,
Tad, James,
I-
other
I-
James.
I got tons
we got
of
two
them.
James here, which is just confusing as shit.
This dude should get
I'm gonna
screwed
go with Miragon from.
What the fuck is that from?
Sounds like 2 words.
No, it's from Ultraman,
Oh,
Oh,
Ultraman.
there you go.
and he was kind of just had these crazy like crab like pincer things.
Why not Zoidberg?
And he could, well, he could multiply himself though, and he could shoot with his ray and freeze you. So he was.
Well, he could freeze you. And he's got cool
yeah.
pinchers like a lobster, and
Yeah.
he can multiply himself.
Yeah.
Sounds fucking
Really
badass
hard to
in my
fight.
book. Yeah.
Let's not forget about the all important Gamera.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
We were
Gamera.
wondering who was going to be the first one to say Gamera.
Oh,
I
man,
thought
yeah.
it was going to be Tad for sure.
I
he
was
brought the
waiting on it.
DVD.
I
You
actually
brought
brought
the DVD, a Gamera?
I brought a Gamera DVD.
Oh, dude, hell
my-
yeah.
When I was growing up, I had all these Godzilla movies. I loved Godzilla. And then my dad brought home one night Gamera. I'm like, all right, sure, I'll give it a try. And this is my like 9-year-old self thinking, it's a giant monster. How bad could it be? And then I watched it and I'm like, oh, this is so awful. This is the worst. And I hated it. And then my dad brought home more of them because you could find those cheaper than you could find Godzilla ones. And he's like, it's the same thing. And I was like, no, Dad, It's not the same thing. They're so bad.
He just Pepsi'd your Godzilla, is what happened.
He did. And I'm definitely a Coke person.
PRC'd your Godzilla.
Yeah, Pepsi leaves a
double
name
cola that
brand.
shit.
Oh, double
Oh.
cola.
Man, well, as far as silly kaiju goes, man, Gamera had some awesome kaiju battle villains. I remember there was this one I really love. You're gonna love this guy. This guy was Giron. He was a giant salamander who had a huge Ginzu knife for a nose. And this is the best part. Oh, you're gonna love this. The little panels would open up on the side of his nose, and ninja stars would fly out.
He shot
Yes,
ninja stars out of the side of his head.
stars. It's like
If you guys want to see something truly entertaining, look up Giron versus Gyaos. Gyaos.
Why are there all G names in this series?
It's weird.
Gamera, Gauss.
Gyaos is a giant pterodactyl looking thing. That fight is the derpiest thing you'll ever see.
Oh yeah.
You see Gyaos shoot a laser beam, and Giron reflects it, and it just takes off Gyaos' leg. His legs falls off, and he's like, "Oh, fuck this! I'm out of here." He just starts flapping his wings, tries to fly away. Giron jumps into the air and cuts him in half. Just cuts off one of his wings, and then proceeds to.
Does he cut him in half, or does he cut off one of his wings?
Yeah, because
the wings are big.
yeah. I don't
Well,
want to
it's
see
fine.
your
It's
core.
fine because immediately after he proceeds to chop him up into little Gyaos steaks.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
It looks like little tuna steaks.
He has
Picks
no.
one
Very
up and he
expensive.
picks one up with his bare hand. He's like, "Hey, this smells great. I'm gonna eat this."
There's
It's
no.
a delicacy there. Yeah.
And it's funny because
that's
Gyaos
the-
apparently has no internal organs or bones or anything. It's just purple meat.
Yeah, he's
That dude that does
he's already
Bizarre
prepared.
Foods ate that, I believe.
Yeah, he had some Gyaos. He had it raw too.
Yeah.
Raw
Buried in a
Gauss.
hole for 8 years.
So we brought up other kaiju. We're talking about King Kong. We talked about Gamera. We talked about Ava. We talked about other.
Stuff that John doesn't care about.
Yeah. So let's talk about favorite kaiju films. Favorite kaiju films. I'm gonna go with the top five. If you have a top five, if you can muster a top five, maybe you got a top 20. But we're doing top five. Fuck off.
Oh, I got it.
20 is a little too much.
Throw 15 of those out. So let's go top five kaiju films. I'm gonna start with James Lineback this time. And go clockwise. James Lineback, top five kaiju.
Any particular order?
Let's go odds and evens.
So yeah, at number 5, I know it's cheesy, but King Kong versus Godzilla, just because it was a big moment,
Who didn't love that movie?
They both
I mean,
fought.
everybody wants to see that
Yeah.
movie.
I remember it being advertised on TV, and I was excited to watch this. Even with commercials, I was excited to watch this. It was a letdown, but I was still excited for it.
But then, Ghidorah, the three-headed monster. Then, because I mean, he looks so cool with all the
He does.
extra
and he's
heads.
gold, man.
Yeah.
He's made
badass.
of gold.
3 heads and made of gold.
Mothra,
That's a great film.
Pacific Rim, number 2.
Pacific Rim at number 2. Absolutely.
Badass.
Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah, he ironed it out and just gave you a pure, like, distilled down essence of kaiju film. And then, of course, Gojira, just because it's like one of the most solid films. Because, it has some really good Japanese actors from the time. Like, the main character is one of the characters from Seven Samurai. So there you go.
So that was James, and on to James.
We talking to me now? Okay, number 5, Pacific Rim. Because it's amazing, and I love the leatherback monster in there simply because.
Leatherback.
Remember how I was bringing up Gorilla Whale yesterday? I mean,
Yep.
yesterday.
Yesterday.
Earlier in the podcast.
It takes 2 days to film this podcast.
Because,
To film, I say.
I'm
Then we have to cut all the moving picture part.
That's why it takes so long.
But no, the reason I like Pacific Rim so much, aside from the fact that it was awesome, is that leatherback monster in there. It swam around in the ocean, and then it comes up on land and it knuckle walks like a gorilla. So I
Yeah.
don't know if that was an accident or
It's
anything,
like
or if they
the
meant
King
to do
Kong
that.
Godzilla mashup almost.
Yeah, it's the
badass.
gorilla whale, so it's kind of awesome. So, I mean, yeah, so that's number 5. Number 4 is the 1933 King Kong. with the stop motion because
Absolutely.
that movie's so brilliant. I could watch that now and still it holds up to me.
Yeah.
Number 3, Them with the giant ants.
Oh,
Nice.
the giant ants. Yes.
Them is a brilliant
That's a
film.
great movie.
Love Them, and I can't help it. It's just a great movie. That was number 3. Number 2 is War of the Gargantuas.
Oh,
Which
hey,
is-
I actually have that movie.
Yeah.
It's different. It's very different.
Yeah, it's good too, and it really says something about savagery versus kindness, things like that. It's very got a lot of underlying issues to it. And of course, number 1, and I was trying to think of movies other than Godzilla movies here, so naturally my number 1 would be Gojira, but for the sake of trying to think of other kaiju movies here, my number 1 on here is Gamera. Because I happen to like Gamera very, very much.
That's very impressive.
The turtle with the flaming asshole, as I like to call him, yes.
He's got an asshole torch.
The mine almost mirrors yours. Actually, I do have
hey.
Them, which is phenomenal, and big fucking ants, man.
Yeah.
I
That's
do
a
have,
great
I do have
movie.
King Kong. I do have
Cool.
Pacific Rim.
Oops, wow.
Yeah. I want to throw in something that wasn't mentioned, which is Monsters, which is actually by Gareth Edwards, who's now doing the Godzilla film.
Hey,
If
there
you haven't
you
seen
go.
Monsters, great film. It focuses more on two people that are trying to get back into the States and then have to, cross through this area that's quarantined with these monsters. So the monsters are the backdrop. But it's an awesome film, and it was enough to make the film companies take notice and select him to do Godzilla. I mean, they really felt he was the go-to guy for the Godzilla
that's
film.
a great movie. I love Monsters.
And then the other one I was going to mention, and this is my top 5 in no particular order. Sans Godzilla. I did a top 5. We already talked about favorite Godzillas, but I figured I'd do some other ones. And this one is one of the films I loved as a kid, and it's a cheesy, terrible fucking film, and it has kaiju in it, but you don't think it has kaiju. You didn't think about it. Tremors.
Oh, you son of a bitch. That's on my list.
Tremors.
That's on my list.
Let me jump over to Robbie. Robbie, your top 5 kaiju films.
All right, then. My number 5, and I did include Godzilla movies. Just want to point that out.
You fucking cheater.
A couple of us did. To
Number
be fair.
5 is Cloverfield, actually.
Hey, there you go.
I love Cloverfield. We watched giant monster movies. When I watched that movie in the theater, I felt like this is what it would be like if it really happened. I was terrified. I didn't know what was going on. You couldn't see the monster. You just kind of heard his effects in the background. And it really, I don't know, I had been drinking. It was Monica. But it was really intense to me when I watched that movie. Number 4, Final Wars. Because like I said, it's the kitchen sink. Everything's thrown in. All the monsters, they all fight. It's just silly. And Godzilla looks so fucking cool to me in that movie. And the way they, the way they show him. Number 3, Super Sentai. Go Sager, Go Kaiju, the 199 Hero Great Battle. This was the 35th anniversary, and they had every single Super Sentai member ever show up. And it was this giant battle between them and these giant, kaiju and small kaiju, and kaijin, whatever, Daikaiju and kaiju in general. Great movie, probably my favorite Super Sentai movie. Number 2, Pacific Rim. Guillermo del Toro, giant monsters. When when the mech throws out the sword,
Brilliant.
everything inside that was just awesome jumped out of me and came right back in, and I felt like I had smoked 10 tons of crack rock. It was great. Number 1, Gojira.
There you go.
That
Number
movie,
1.
All these
It
movies,
tops them all,
Yeah,
man.
all these movies are fun, slam, bang, kids playing with toys. That movie is about a natural disaster. That's about not even natural. It's like something man-made. It's radioactive. It's something we did to Japan. And their film, their version of the film, and the American version of the film almost is an insult to Gojira because it deals with what it in a very somber, serious, dark tone, the ramifications of these kind of things, atomic warfare, the hydrogen bomb, man's influence on nature, and what nature can do in and of itself. Kaiju are basically acts of nature and creations of man. And that movie just takes it all because that is the most brilliant film out of all kaiju, and it started it all. But it's the best.
I can't argue with that. I can't argue with
Yeah,
that.
that's-
Let's end the show there. Nobody else. Oh wait, Tad's still here. Everybody's favorite podcast member,
Sans like one person.
Tad. Your top 5 kaiju films.
All right, number 5. I hope you guys forgive me for this. I liked Godzilla, the one with Matthew Broderick.
Oh my god.
I knew someone was gonna say.
Okay, now, if you don't consider it anything to do with Godzilla and just look at it as a giant monster movie, it's badass. You know,
I'll give you that. It's
I'm
not as
gonna
bad
say
as
it's
people.
not as bad as
Yeah.
this is.
Yeah, I mean, if
Absolutely.
it's a giant iguana movie, yeah, sure, I'll watch
just
it.
don't think of it as Godzilla movie. Number 4, Tremors. I really actually love that movie.
Curse you, Kevin Bacon.
I actually like the second one too a lot.
Is that the one they
I
have
like that one
legs?
too.
Which one's
They
the second one?
they
Well,
explode out of
can
them.
I just say my number 6 is Critters? Then you know.
Hey,
like,
there you go.
There we go.
Are those kaiju? Well, I guess so.
When they all join
when they
together.
make the big giant ball.
Like a big giant
Yeah.
critter. Yeah, there you go. It's a critter.
Number 3,
I don't know.
Godzilla versus Biollante. I'm in
yes.
love with that movie. Like that, I actually went and bought the
Why don't
DVD
you
as soon
marry
as
that
they.
movie?
Yeah.
I actually went out and bought the DVD as soon as they released it. They just recently released it on DVD.
DVD. What
And
year is
Blu-ray.
this?
Oh, come on, man. Also, Pacific Rim is my number 2.
A common theme.
It is.
Yep. Pacific
Uh,
Rim.
No one's brave enough to put it number 1.
Well,
Shame
Because
on all of
obviously
us.
Godzilla's better than that one. Right?
I really like Pacific Rim. I like, they even call the monsters in them kaijus. It's perfect. I mean, it's exactly what you want.
It's got Idris Elba in it.
Idris
Yeah.
Elba.
Any
Exactly.
movie with him.
It's just good. All right, and my number 1 is Cloverfield. I
there you
loved
go. Oh,
the
okay.
hell out of Cloverfield.
Dap.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I'm the camera perspective. A lot of people that doesn't bother me at all. I love the whole feeling of dread and you don't know what's going on around you, and there could be something directly behind you, but there's no third person perspective to know if there is. You just sort of look back and the camera has to go there too. You don't know what everyone else is seeing. It's amazing.
We're gonna take a quick break. When we come back, Battle Royale.
And now, finally, back in Huntsville Attic, this fall, the return of Rockin' with Rockin' Robbie. The same guests, new guests, the same topics, new topics. It's an all new, all the same. Rockin' with Rockin' Robbie. Coming this fall.
Can you see the lights? Can you see how the monsters surround you? Does they give you a fright? They speak of things displeasing. Yes, 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 yes. Yes, 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 no, 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 no. Can't,
So we talked about our favorite films, our favorite monsters, but in the grand scheme of things, who would win? Battle Royale. Who would ultimately? Who's going to win? Who's going to kick all the ass? Who's going to take names and then
And then kick ass? I don't know if it works that way. Hold on, guys.
you gotta inventory
Line up.
who's here
What's your
fighting?
name? What's your
Yeah,
name?
you gotta
Well,
wait.
Take your name, so then I'll kick your ass.
Find out who's in which weight class. Balance everything out. Yeah. Schedule a time when it's convenient.
Get the
for every
bracket
monster.
set up.
Yeah,
absolutely.
definitely. Battle Royale. Who to win? Let's
know-
start with. Let's start with Tad. Tad, who would win? Who do you
What?
think? Who's ultimately in all the kaiju monsters in all the world, including James Lineback? Who's the
He is
strongest?
kind of a kaiju. Well, most people sort of look at Godzilla and they think that's the ultimate guy. He beats all the other monsters.
Because he kind of does.
He
a lot,
does. He usually wins. Usually. I mean, there's an odd movie out or so. And then you compare him to other kaiju, he's either twice the size of them, as indestructible. No, I'm actually going to go with a weird one. I'm going to go with Galactus from the Marvel Universe.
Hey, there you go.
Just cosmic power there.
He's a
I think
kaiju.
I think he wins.
I think you just we
Top-
end the
top
show
that,
there.
Yeah,
no, the
top
rest of us
that,
can't even-
assholes.
Thank you
Can't
for
even
tuning
top
in.
that one.
Join us next week with Timothy Dalton. Wait a minute.
Hey, Timothy Dalton wants to call in and give us his answers.
Robbie.
Uh,
Trump Galactus.
I thought about this, and this doesn't trump Galactus, I guess. I don't
That's
know.
right, it doesn't.
Otachi. Otachi is from Pacific Rim. It's the one
Yes.
that all of a sudden, out of nowhere, has fucking wings. I'm sorry, like Rodan has wings, but Rodan, I'm sorry, he's kind of lame.
Yeah,
Really is
Rodan would be
lame.
the first to go in the
Yeah,
battle.
and his own, well, it'd be the Ankylosaurus, right?
Yeah, he's always the first to go. He's the most useless.
But I mean, he's just in that movie. Like when he popped wings, oh wow, I popped something myself, man. Like I'm not even kidding. That was just super fucking cool, and it was just, I don't know. I just think he could take it because Rodan can fly, and his flight's not gonna win you the battle. He can do more than fly, and that movie is badass. And he was one of the toughest ones to defeat.
Flying alone is
also
not going
had
to
a
win you the
baby.
battle. That Mothra's point that you
You know,
can't
Well,
just
that's what I said. He's
win.
Yeah,
does
that's
more
why he
than
got
flying.
wrecked.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had acid and all. He also had a baby that ate
That
Ron
is right.
Perlman. Yeah.
Ron Perlman spit him back out.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
Sorry about that.
If you haven't seen this movie, I don't know why you'd be watching or listening to a kaiju podcast.
James
Yeah.
Donahoe, what do you think? Battle Royale.
Oh, we skipped you.
Come back to me.
Okay, cool. Well, honestly, this once again, this does not trump Galactus because how do you trump Galactus?
That's right, just- you don't
You
trump me.
can't. I mean, I'm
Goddamn
sorry. That
Tad
was
stealing the show.
that was the best answer. But
Alex Hunter's gonna have a field day.
but I did think a lot about this. I mean, I do have a lot of kaiju under my belt, which sounds kind of
He
weird.
does right now. It's very awkward.
Yeah,
He
it
can't
is.
fit in
It's
the attic.
It's very odd here, you know. Anyway, honestly, I think the kaiju that would win the gigantic big battle between all of them would be Ultraman. Ultraman would win because he knows karate. He knows karate. He can chokehold Godzilla. He can karate chop all the heads off of Ghidorah. He can
And he has the most badass belly flop of anybody.
yes.
He Judy
He will
chops
take-
people.
He
And he
knocks
can-
you down, and then, oh yeah, he's going to jump on you.
He can even make hurtful comments to Rodan and hurt his feelings. So
Exactly.
that is why I think that Ultraman would win, even though when Galactus shows up, the party's over. So that is who I think would win the big battle of earthly kaiju.
Ultraman. What about you, other James? What do you think?
Great Jameses think alike.
Ooh.
I was also going to say Ultraman.
You
Yeah.
also Ultraman.
Yes. I mean, he has the moves.
Moves like Jagger. Well, he's definitely more agile than any of the other kaiju. I mean, really, he's basically a tall dude.
Also,
tall
he's
dude.
basically a intergalactic kaiju hunter.
Yeah.
He's a
That's what he
tall
does.
robot dude.
Yeah, tall robot.
Yeah.
See, yeah, or once again, robot.
He might give
Robots.
Frankenstein's monster even a run for his money, but definitely not Galactus.
Yeah, well, I don't know, man. Galactus would be like, it's like, man, Ultraman's fucking cool. I'm gonna
Ultraman
not eat
pro-
this planet because I love Ultraman.
How close is Mars?
Mars could use some feasting, but yeah, because there's no Ultraman there.
I'm gonna go with. I was gonna go with Godzilla, but I was talking to James Numero Dos, and I was thinking. I'm now thinking. Mechagodzilla. Mechagodzilla is actually my favorite from the Godzilla franchise, and he's just badass. And who's gonna win? I would say Godzilla, but everything's better when it's a robot version, with missiles and shit.
Yes.
What's
Mechagodzilla.
cooler than Godzilla?
Robot
Robot
Godzilla.
Godzilla.
So I'm gonna go Mechagodzilla, and I really love the Millennium series. I just love that iteration,
Yes.
and it's just so badass, and it just looks amazing. It's got again the rockets, the jetpacks can jet out of the way, and the big laser on the chest, and
Great toy too.
yeah, it just
The monster arts. Yeah, we didn't mention those. The monster arts.
the monster arts by Bandai are phenomenal. The detail, They're a lot smaller than they look on the internets, but nothing's in scale because your monitor can't do it.
Of course.
But yeah, I'm gonna go with Mechagodzilla.
The smart answer is Galactus.
Yes.
Also, another quick throw out for something that tops all of your monsters again, all of your kaiju. I was going to make a special mention of Cthulhu, the Cthulhu mythos. All of those make fantastic kaiju.
Absolutely, actually, yeah. We
Yeah.
talked about a little bit about Cthulhu on the Villains podcast,
We
which if
did.
you haven't checked it out yet, listeners, check it out.
That's a hell of a podcast. It was a lot of fun.
That was a good one too. I listened to that one from my cubicle at work.
Oh wow, that's awesome! Thank you.
Well, that's where I
Long-time listener, first time.
Yeah, that's where. Well, I mean, that's where I listen to all your podcasts. It's because I got Wi-Fi at work.
That's what we think. We're like everybody's listening to this while they're at work, dicking around.
Thanks for tuning in, and we're going to go with final thoughts. We're going to thank James for being on the show, James Donahoe for being on the show for the first time.
Thank you.
And
I
your
loved
final thoughts, James?
My final thoughts are that I really love kaiju. I've loved them since I was a kid. The first kaiju film, technically, that I ever saw that got me started on this was Godzilla versus the Sea Monster, which was Ibira, the giant shrimp. And yeah, you gotta love that. I mean, I saw that when I was a kid. I was
Not as
sleeping
cool
on the
as
couch.
the chicken noodle guy, but
No.
Nothing's as cool as Kung Fu Chicken Noodle. He trumps Galactus a little bit because Galactus needs chicken soup too.
yeah.
See?
And
When he's
yeah,
got
it's
to get
liver.
sick.
Yeah, when he gets sick, he needs chicken.
Galactus'
Kung Fu
mom will
chicken
bring him
noodle soup.
chicken noodle soup.
Yeah.
Galactus' mom. That's an interesting concept. But yeah, that was the first film I ever saw, and I was just a tiny kid when I saw it, and it just blew me away. I've been stuck on kaiju films ever since, and so yeah, I'm extremely psyched up for this new Godzilla film, and I have been for quite a while, and that is my final thought.
Excellent. Other James?
All the kaiju should really just come together and learn how to get along.
And destroy the world.
Well, either all agree to destroy the world together and be done with it, or all agree that maybe they could enjoy the world.
You just blew my mind.
Wow.
Godzilla all-out monster hug.
All right. On that note, Tad.
All of my thoughts sizzle with who is Alex Hunter. I hope you forgive me for my Nick Beardish ramblings. I'm sorry.
All right. Robbie, final thoughts?
Wow.
Can you top that?
I don't know. That might top Galactus.
Twice.
The kaiju films are science fiction films. In the science fiction film podcast, which if you haven't listened to it, guys, you should listen to it totally.
Do that one
Another way
too.
I listen to work.
Justin Goldsmith, who also has an IMDb, is on that episode. You should check it out. I talk about science fiction being a warning. We explore warnings to our society in science fiction films. It's the same way in kaiju films. The original Gojira and Pacific Rim does this great. They are forces of nature. And I am not talking about the Sandra Bullock, Ben Affleck movie, which is great. But
What?
they are forces of nature. They build the
like a weird
wall
turn.
in Pacific Rim, and it just plows right through it. We live in Alabama. We are a little bit familiar with tornadoes. Not as much as they are in the Midwest at times, but tornadoes, hurricanes, earthquakes. You can't stop them. But a monster, it's a force of nature that man might have had a hand in making. It's a warning. They're giant. They're fun. They're fun to see all this destruction. But at the end of the day, you got to think, when shit happens, and you got to be ready for that, and you got to be ready to deal with it. We kind of explore these themes in kaiju films.
The deep final thought.
But seriously, who the fuck is Alex Hunter? Hashtag it, guys. Who is Alex Hunter?
Hashtag who is Alex Hunter?
My final thought is go see Godzilla. Go see Godzilla. You have no excuse not to go see Godzilla. The film looks phenomenal. You're going to have a
X-Men
fun
doesn't
time.
come out for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Spider-Man's long done.
Yeah, man, you
Watch
need something to fill
Godzilla.
the gap.
Perfect time.
Even
Go
if
see
you're
Godzilla.
even if you're not a Godzilla fan, this is a new start. This is a fresh start to the Godzilla series. Watch it.
Great cast. Bryan Cranston. The guy from Kick-Ass whose name I forgot all of a sudden. But go see it. Looks awesome. And share this podcast with your friends. If you enjoy this show, please share it. Please share it with everybody. Share it with your cousin. Share it with your uncle. Share it with everybody. Your nephew that you don't ever talk to, but share it with him anyway. He might like the show.
And don't share needles.
Yeah, don't share needles. And then tune in to our next episode, The Batcast. All things Batman. It's Batman's anniversary. 75 years. Can you believe 75? He looks like he's in his early 20s. Despite the fact, how old's his kid in retrospect? It doesn't even make any sense, but please tune in next time for the Batcast. Same bat chime.
Bat chimes.
Bat chimes.
Ah, fuck it. We're out of here. Thanks, guys.